Hey guys, Matt here. Going to get into 1 Timothy 3, 4, 5 maybe today. We kind of set the table yesterday looking at 1 Timothy and how Timothy, this young man, he met up with Paul in Galatia. He got saved. He was probably in his late teens. And now he's in Ephesus, and he's probably in his early 30s, and he's got a rather large task in front of him to get a church back on track that's been infiltrated by false teaching. And Paul comes out and he says, "Hey, this is Paul the apostle, not to puff himself up, but to flex a little muscle, to say, listen to what I have to say because it's from God, not from me." And he prays a blessing over Timothy, doesn't he? He says, "Grace, mercy, and peace to you." And we saw that Timothy really needed it, just like us. Timothy needed it because Timothy was weak, and he was young, and he was sickly, and he was timid, and which, by the way, makes him fully capable of God using him, right? I mean, because it's all about God's glory. So that should give us hope, right? If Timothy was sick and young and intimidated and all these things, and God used him in a mighty way, boy, he can use any of us, can't he? If we're accessible, yes, he can. And that leads us to verse 3. And Paul says, Timothy evidently is wanting to leave, and Paul says to him in verse 3, "As I urged you when I was going to Macedonia, remain at Ephesus." Evidently this isn't the first time. Paul says, remain at Ephesus. Why? That you may charge certain persons not to teach any different doctrine. Okay? Evidently there was different doctrine. What's different doctrine? Anything that is different from the doctrine of Jesus Christ, from the doctrine that is taught by his apostles, right? From the doctrine that is clearly made manifest in his word. Verse 4, nor to devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies, which promote speculation, rather than the stewardship from God that is by faith. Okay, so evidently at the time here, there was Gentile believers who were trying to go back to myths and particularly genealogies. They wanted to show that somehow, at some way, at some time, they had Jewish roots. And here's what he's saying. He's saying, guys, this is promoting speculation. This isn't about stewardship from God, because stewardship from God, that's all about faith. It's not about whether you're Jew or Gentile. It doesn't matter. I see that on YouTube sometimes. I see people who want to dress up like they're Jewish and talk like they're Jewish, and to me, I think it could potentially promote speculation, because look, we're saved by faith, right? When I first got on YouTube, there was a young man who contacted me, and he was giving me a slap on the back. "I love your videos. Do you keep the law?" he said, and I just thought, wow. So I had this dialogue with him, and here somebody at some point had taught him that you go back to being a Jew, and I mean that's what's going on here. We're not under the law. We don't have to pretend we're Jewish. I'm a Caucasian from Minnesota, but I got saved, right? I got born again, like most of you. And when that happened, I got filled with His Spirit, and I got engrafted into the tree of life, and I became a son of the King. I became an heir to the throne of grace. Didn't matter whether I'm Jewish or Gentile, or whether I'm white or black, or whether I'm from Minnesota or Israel. It just doesn't matter, right? And so that's what these guys were doing. They were trying to tie themselves in, and it's just sad because this happens a lot. This happens a lot, especially in the newer church. They were always trying to get them to go back to the law. And who do you think's at the root of that? Satan, right? Who's the king of false teachers? Satan is, right? So false teachings, different doctrines, have a characteristic. We can notice them by the fact that they promote speculation, not stewardship from God, which is by faith. And I think the one other thing I see on Facebook that I think is a different doctrine, and it's going to rock the boat. I know it is, but it's the King James only people, man. I think, wow, that's not That's promoting speculation. That's not promoting good stewardship from God, which is by faith. That's promoting speculation. That if you read this one version, man, you're in our club and we love you. But if you're not, we're going to question your salvation. When I first got on YouTube, I had all these people, you know, they're commenting on my videos and, oh yeah, way to go, way to go. And then as soon as they find out you don't read the King James and you don't subscribe to their ideology, and which is, I think, cultic, man, you are enemy number one. In fact, some of them will question your salvation, whether they do it outright or whether they allude to it. And it's sad. It's really sad, because we're not saved by the King James Bible. We're saved by the blood of Christ. We're saved by the faith in God, which is through Christ Jesus. And guys, I love the King James, and I love the New King James, and I love the ESV. But this King James only stuff, guys, it promotes speculation, period and paragraph. That's it. And even if you think King James only, even if you think you should read the King James only, it shouldn't break your fellowship with other people. That's just sad. Who do you think's behind that? Who do you think's behind that? Who do you think's behind breaking up fellowship between true believers? Yeah. All right. So any other doctrine would be something that promotes speculation rather than stewardship from God. And stewardship from God is by faith. It isn't by being Jewish. It isn't by reading a certain version of the Bible. It's by faith in Jesus Christ. Peace.